Hello there. Hello there. Well, I'm back. It's Tuesday. I'm going to try to make this really quick so that it doesn't interfere with the beauty of your day. Here are the things that I think will help anybody in the world with their life. They need to form relationships with texts that encourage, comfort, and enlighten them. So, the first thing I'll say is you need a few books in your life, stories, that help you confront certain parts of the human experience and help guide you in your journey through them. You need a book that deals with family, some book that deals with family. And the reason is because we all need somebody for a big part of our lives. Now, one of my favorite books of all time, which is a coming-of-age book really, is Jane Eyre. But Jane Eyre is very much about family, and especially about how we relate to our family. And I could spend hours talking about Jane Eyre, and in fact have. But that's my book about family and coming of age. And that brings us to the second book, which is a book about coming of age. There is nothing like a book that teaches you about what it's like to grow up. And I think everybody should have a book that's about growing up. I think part of the reason why Harry Potter took off so with so many young people is it came along to a generation as a coming-of-age book when they desperately needed it. And so it's really become iconic in many ways. And I think every person should have one available to them. I think you should have a love story. And a love story doesn't have to be a romance. It can be a romance, but it could also be a buddy story, a friend story. And so everybody needs a love story in their life, some story about love that helps them think about and practice loving others. A story that shows them what love is like and what it should offer to those who need love. I think everybody needs a war story. Now, I know that might sound controversial to some people because they don't want to think about war, but the reality is we need to understand war, and so we need to read war stories. Because if we don't, then we have to go out and make them. And war stories have a lot in common. If I were going to suggest a war story for today's generation, I would suggest Slaughterhouse-Five. It's about World War II, but I think it still is an excellent story that teaches about what is war, what war does to us, and what we need to understand about the nature of war. I think everybody needs a quest story. I think the quest story is potent in many ways because many of us feel that we need to be on a quest, that maybe our life is a quest, even if we're not sure how. But a quest story is about having a purpose, about being born to serve a purpose. And there is nothing like that idea of having a purpose to give us energy when all seems lost. And there are thousands and thousands of quest stories. Find one that is your quest story that you could read more than once, because each time you go through it, it's going to teach you about that idea of living with purpose. Now, past those, I really do think you should find a humorist that you love. Read a story that makes you laugh. And it may not be just one story, it may be a little collection of stories, but humor is part of what allows humans to live through the worst of situations. Humor saves us, regenerates us. Even God has a sense of humor. Witness the platypus. So the sense of humor is a gift, it's a pleasure, and we should be looking for humorists that we like to read and that make us laugh. And finally, we should probably all have something we've read that teaches us about governance. Scripture once again does an excellent job about teaching about governance. The Rise and Fall of the Roman Empire, an excellent book about governance. Billy Budd. I absolutely love Billy Budd. It's a really short little book, and not many people can handle it because it's Melville at his most focused and heavy packing. His language is so dense, it's so challenging. But truly, Billy Budd, I think every person who goes into business should read Billy Budd so that they understand the stakes for the guy that's a workaday guy. If they do that, then they're going to be a better boss, they're going to run a better company. So there it is. Find your stories. Maybe this week I'll tell you about some of mine. You already know, Jane Eyre's on the list, Billy Budd's on the list, Heidi is on the list, Where the Red Fern Grows is on the list, The Princess Bride is on the list, Slaughterhouse-Five is on the list, Jailbird's on the list. There's a lot of them on my list. But I definitely think you should find a list of yours. That's it for today. I hope you have a lovely day, and I hope you see me again, you gorgeous people.